Morning, Glenn. How
Hey,
are you
Dave.
doing?
I'm doing great, man.
Another hot day in Phoenix, Arizona.
Another hot day, 118 degrees coming right up.
Oh, that's going to be exciting.
Man, I'm telling you what. So,
Internally combust as you go to your car.
spontaneously.
Spontaneous
That's
combustion.
yes, even better than.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's happenstance. Spontaneous is like, didn't see it coming.
Yeah. Good point.
All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit more. We've talked in the past a little bit about air conditioning systems, and we get people asking us all the time, and you see it on Google. How much did it cost to fix my AC? And that is such an ambiguous question.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing of it is it's changed over the years. You and I have been doing this a long time, Glenn. And the thing of it is when we started doing this and what we're doing now and the components that we have to change that we never had to change before.
They didn't exist.
Well, think about this. It's like air conditioning. When your air conditioning quit on you, before you change the compressor, you change maybe the accumulator, you might change the orifice tube, and flush out the system and be good to go.
Yeah.
But guess what? Now, the way things are set up, you end up changing the condenser, you end up flushing out the lines, you change the compressor, you change
Expansion valve.
expansion valve.
And many vehicles have two AC systems. The SUVs and things like that. They have one compressor, but they got two evaporators, and they have another expansion valve in the back and another blower in the back.
Right, and so people wonder, and your question earlier was why are things so expensive? Well, think about it. And even, let's even go a little deeper into this thing and talk about, you got your cooling fans. We used to have a fan belt that ran a fan and would cool off, would suck air through the radiator and cool off the engine, right? Well,
Right.
now they've got electric fans on there, and they're not only one, there's two of them. And guess what? You have to buy both of them as a housing, as
Yep.
an assembly. And
Yep.
so you wonder why all this stuff is just getting more and more expensive to fix.
Yeah, they used to, back in the day, GM and Honda and a bunch from Volkswagen, whatever, you could buy just one of the fans or just the motor for the fan. And now they've done away with all. You have to buy the entire shroud that holds the fans and the electronic module that runs the fans and changes the fan speeds. It used to be just one thing. They'd come on and turn on and turn off. Now there's multi-speed
There was a
fans.
switch. There was a switch and maybe a regulator in there that regulated the speed. It's just crazy what we've come to, and all this technology is great and we all love it. But guess what? When it goes bad, it's just really expensive to
Yeah, I'm going
fix.
to talk about something else that I just thought of too. That when I was a kid, you go to McDonald's and have a hamburger. It was 10 cents. 10 cents for a hamburger. Now,
Boy, you're old.
yeah, I am old, but the deal is now you go to McDonald's and it's $2, $3, $4, $5. Yeah.
Oh no, it's more than that.
I mean, Big Macs when they first came out,
Yeah.
they were 45 cents,
yeah.
and we thought, oh my gosh, a 45-cent hamburger. Now it's like,
Oh, it's $15 to get a meal.
yeah. And so it's funny how in our industry, it looks like we're trying to rip people off or do something nefarious when our prices, our costs of goods, and our labor rates, what we pay our technicians and the things that we provide for them, health insurance and
Oh, yeah.
life insurance and all the different things, 401ks. If you're a consumer out there or if you're a laborer somewhere, you're an employee of someplace, you kind of expect those things from your employer when you get there. You want to have life insurance. You want to have health insurance. You want to have a 401k. You want to have some kind of retirement plan. When you're done, well, just because these guys are auto mechanics, which is something that's kind of a derogatory term, we're technicians. We have to have incredible levels of skill that we didn't have to have
And
30,
equipment.
40, 50 years
and
ago.
the expense of the equipment. You didn't
Oh,
even
my
mention that.
goodness.
And one thing you and I have talked about this at other podcasts that we're short so many people in our industry, and all the infrastructure jobs out there, they're hurting so bad. You got AC and heating and plumbing and electrical
guys,
and
yeah.
and building
Construction guy, yeah, I mean,
you can't find people, and it's just crazy. So the cost of doing business is just skyrocketed. And you and I both know at the end of the month we look at we're just a conduit for money. You and I, we collect the money at the front counter and it just goes right out the back door. It's
Exactly.
we've got to pay our bills and we got to pay our people and we got to give all those benefits, which we love doing because we have great people.
Yeah.
We have great people working for us, and we're happy to make their life better.
Yeah.
That's our mission
Yep.
as a business owner is to make our
Exactly.
employees' lives
That's
better.
the only way you can keep them. So let's talk about, we're back on the AC thing again here. What does an AC machine cost? And how many different kinds of AC machines are out there?
Well, and you and I both know that in the last, since 2015, they've switched up the Freon again to 1, 2, 3, 4 YR.
YF. And we
Or
have,
YF, yeah.
and we have to have a special machine for that refrigerant.
Yeah.
You cannot put that refrigerant in a non 1234 YF vehicle, and you can't put the 134A into
What did that do to the
YF.
cost? What did that do to the cost? To R134 systems? Now we got the Y1234 YF machines or systems.
And-
What did that do to the cost to the consumer?
Oh, it quintupled it.
Yeah, absolutely. So
That
so,
refrigerant cost me 5 times more than 134A, and it cost me about 10 to 15 times more than R12, which was the predecessor to the 134A. But I'm talking about the actual machines themselves. What does an AC machine cost these days, Dave?
anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000.
$5,000 to $10,000.
Yeah.
And you got to have a machine for 134A. Got to have one for 123 for YF, and another special one is for hybrids. You cannot use, even though they use 134A, you cannot use that machine because the type of oil that's
The
used
oil,
in
yep,
there,
yep.
if that gets into a hybrid system, there's actual metallic type of things in the oil that gravitate to the compressor and burn it out. So if you do hybrid AC services, you got to have another $10,000 machine to service those. So how do you ever recover that cost? You know, you have to divide that into how many services you do and figure out. And as business owners, we eat the initial cost. Now, we don't gouge people to try to make up the cost because we know these machines are going to last us 8 to 10 years before we have to replace them or they'll be superseded by the next thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, we can't just keep buying these machines at $8,000 to $10,000 a piece and not somehow recovering some of that. And then the refrigerants have gone crazy. 134A, 2 years ago, I bought, they come in a 30-pound cylinder. I bought them for $95. Now they're $400 and
Oh yeah, $400 to $500. Easy.
$400, $500
Well,
for the same thing. I have no control over that.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. And listen, we understand it is expensive to the consumer, and we're sympathetic to that. We are totally sympathetic. Our costs is not really the consumer's problem. You know, they just want to get their car fixed, and we want to fix it, and we're not
Right.
whining about it.
Right.
But we're just saying that
When
do
people
less-
ask why is it so expensive,
we
and
get-
I could go through this big scenario and make it look like I'm crying in my beer, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's just reality.
Right.
It's reality. What did
Well,
a car?
carton eggs. Carton eggs is what now?
What does a car cost now?
Yeah.
And the car companies are gouging people for thousands and thousands of dollars over the sticker price of a vehicle, and they're still
Because there's a
doing
lack
it.
of them.
That's right.
A lack of inventory. Yep. And that's it. So the consumer is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard spot. But you and I both, we've said this at other podcasts, that it's way cheaper to keep her than it is to get rid of her.
Absolutely.
Right? When you really think about it.
Yeah. Where is that tipping point where you say it's real easy for people to say I'm just going to buy another car.
Yeah.
And then they go out there shopping, or they end up not having a pre-purchase inspection done on the car they want to buy because it's a used car, and they buy someone else's lemon.
Right.
I got a good story for that too that I'm going to tell in another. Maybe I can share it right now in this podcast. A friend of mine who actually brokers cars. He was brokering a car, a 1997 Camaro, the V8. What is it called? Not the IROC, but the
Camaro Z20.
Z28. A Z28.
Z28. Okay.
So it's got the high performance 350. Car was beautiful, and he was brokering it for this person, and he always gets all the information, all the service records, all of the everything, to show that to the prospective buyer, right? So he, being very savvy about cars and everything, he decides that, hey, he's already got a 1997 Camaro, and actually I own it now. But the point is, he wanted to upgrade. Mine is the 3.8 V6, and this was the 350 high performance.
We don't want to give you that
Z.
much power.
Yeah, So at the end of the day, I bought it for my wife for Mother's Day. So, aw, yeah. But anyway,
special.
yeah, yeah. Well, she appreciated it because I sold her '87 Firebird when she was pregnant with our first child. I won't go into that story, but she was kind of mad when we agreed to sell it.
I sold my wife's
And
Firebird when she got pregnant too.
All right, give me some right there. Okay, so that's the deal, though. I mean, it's not practical to take a baby and put the car seat and try to load the baby, especially when they start weighing 20, 30 pounds, right? So anyway, to finish my story here, so my friend Jim buys this vehicle from the guy, taking his word for it that he had seen all the service records. He says, now, before I put this on the market, are you sure that nothing's ever been done and nothing else other than what you've told me here has been done? Nope, never did anything else to it. So long story short, he goes driving it, and he notices that the car is starting to overheat. And so he comes to my shop, and he says, hey, Glenn, can you take a look at this? I said, sure. So I open up the hood, and, yeah, the car is way over temperature. It's already probably running 240 degrees. And I said, well, you got cooling fans up here. It doesn't sound like I hear the fans running. So sure enough, one of the two fans was running and the other one wasn't. So I took a long extension from a ratchet, and I wrapped on the top of the fan, and the other one started to work.
Oh,
so,
wow. That's a great test.
Well, when you can't reach the fans and reach the wiring because there's so much stuff crammed in front
Sometimes
of
you
it
got
on
to
a
do that.
Camaro,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I just tapped it, and boom, it
Yeah.
started working. So I said, well, there's one problem. So then it ran for a while yet, and the other fan was running, and it still wasn't cooling down. I says, well, you may have another problem. You may have a stuck thermostat.
Right.
There could be something else going on. He says, well, I'm going to leave it here, and he left it. So we did some testing on it. Turned out someone had put a water pump on the thing, a cheap aftermarket one. It was leaking. Second thing, the fan was not operating correctly. Third, there was a cheap aftermarket thermostat in the thing. So we didn't have any reason to believe there was anything beyond that. So he agreed to have us put all those components on there. So I took it out for a test drive, about 5 miles round trip, come back. It was all fine while I was moving the car, but as soon as I stopped again, the temperature started
hot,
climbing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh boy, he's got
So
another
airflow,
problem.
it sounds like an airflow problem, right?
No, actually, head gasket problem.
Oh, okay.
And then we discovered when we opened up the cooling system that this silver stuff started coming out along with the coolant, which was sealer that someone had put block sealer
Oh,
in
no.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so after seeing the block sealer and all this other stuff, it's like, because it was actually stuck to the radiator, and you could actually wipe it off with your finger and turn your finger silver. And so this guy was taking advantage of. So now we've got to pull the heads off this vehicle,
Right,
send them out
right.
to a machine shop, make sure that they're not cracked, that they were only warped, and it's going to cost him a total for all the stuff that we did close to $5,000.
Well, and you just brought up a really good point, and we've talked about it in numerous podcasts, is that buyer beware, get your car inspected before you get it to a shop, get somebody that knows the bumper to bumper, what your vehicle, can tell you what's going on with your vehicle, can kind of give you the insight of what's going on. Don't buy something unless you have it inspected. It's really the most important thing.
And interestingly, this thing didn't throw any codes for being over temp. Actually, one of the spark plugs was loose in the front driver's side. It's just crazy.
Somebody doctored it. They doctored it up to get rid of it. I mean, it's what they do.
Yeah.
And typically, we see that happen in a lot of cases where, I mean, thank God, a lot of our clients bring their car to us first, and we will let them know.
And the AC didn't work, and the cruise control didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean,
and all those things you'd have tested. You'd have checked all those. You know,
Yeah.
we've had cars where literally they've been in some really bad accidents, and that they made the body look amazing. The outside of the car looked amazing.
Oh, this
We
thing's
got it-
cherry, and
we-
it's a convertible.
Right, we got it up in the air, and the hole underneath the car looks like somebody, drove it like they stole it. They jumped it through the desert. It was terrible.
Right.
And there's so much damage underneath there. But they made the outside look really, really good for the consumer.
We call it
Somebody visually-
polishing the turd.
polishing the dirt. Yeah, that curbside appeal. But so hey, back to the air conditionings, and I'm such a wealth of knowledge. Did you know what the average cost of a AC repair is?
It can go anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000, depending on what components need to be replaced. If a system gets contaminated, if it explodes internally and contaminates all of the hoses, all of the lines, the condenser, the evaporator in the dash, the expansion valve, the there's a filter in there called the receiver dryer. All of that stuff either has to be replaced or cleaned out. Some of it you can't clean out. Like you can't clean the condenser because the tubes, it's like a small radiator.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
tubes are so
right.
thin.
And we used to flush those all the time.
Can't
No
do it
kidding.
anymore. They
Well,
made the tubes so small you can't flush them
right.
anymore.
So you were close. The average the cost of servicing the vehicle, servicing the air conditioning is around $400 to $500.
Oh, for servicing. I
Right,
thought you meant
no.
okay,
And
I'm
hear me
sorry.
out.
Go ahead.
And let's say you need what you just described as a catastrophic problem, like a compressor. And once you do the compressor, you got to do all the other things you just alluded to.
Yep.
You're looking at anywhere from $1,300 to $2,500.
Yep.
And literally, you and I have been doing this a long time. It was to do a compressor. 20 years ago, with doing all the other things that went along with it, it's about $500, right?
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were really
Yeah, the compressors were costing us $65, $70 at the time.
and that's
Now they cost me $265 or more, depending what brand of vehicle they're for.
right, and that's just I mean, obviously everything has kind of gone up, carton eggs, gas, all that stuff. You look at inflation and all that stuff. So we're kind of right there. We're definitely right there. But back to the original thing here, Glenn, is that people need to have air conditioning in their car. At 118, it's not going to be really pleasant for you
Unless you have a death wish.
Unless you have a dash with, you're gonna, it's not good. And another thing is that when your car is sitting out in the sun for a long period of time, that dashboard can get to be 192 degrees.
Buy a dash mat. I tell everybody to do it.
Absolutely.
They're like 30, 40 bucks. I mean,
put that in perspective. I mean, think about that, 192 degrees. And then if you got a car seat in there, you got to worry about your, some people really love their kids. And the thing of it is you want to make sure that the car seat isn't too hot to put your kid in it, because those things can get up to be 160 degrees. And
Yeah.
that's not going to be any fun for your kid.
I think I shared this in another episode. I went into a car with a thermometer, a duct thermometer, but it also has an ambient thermometer on. It was 174 degrees when I opened the door in that car.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the windows were down a little bit,
Yeah.
too.
So back to I guess the original point is yes, we brought up that AC, working on your car, and we talked mainly about AC, but really overall fixing your car is just more expensive
Yeah.
in today's world. But inflation is kind of driven that. Back to what we had said in other episodes, we have to pay our people. We have to give them benefits. We have more costs. And I always tell my clients this: we're just a conduit for money. It just goes in the front, goes right out the back. Trust me, it doesn't stay in my hands too long.
No.
Because it's gone.
No, because it costs us so much just to be in the business
It's just to be
anymore.
in the business, and we love the business, and we cherish our clients, and we try to do the best that we possibly can. We give them a great warranty. We give them great service. We're upfront with them. We're transparent, and we do all the other things that we need to do to make our clients feel comfortable. But there's certain things that we just cannot control, and that's the cost in a lot of cases.
Right. So, yeah, and the cost of paying employees and everything, I mean, they're paying people working at Wendy's and McDonald's.
$21 an hour.
Yeah, $21 an hour.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
How can I pay, that wage or anything near that low of a wage to someone who's actually got amazing skills to be able to fix cars? So what I used to pay a tech back in the day has literally doubled or almost tripled in some
Oh,
cases.
no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Because you can't keep employees of it. And as that,
Yeah.
the amount of techs who are available, skilled ones who actually have a nice personality and want working
Well,
for
and come to
you
work.
and show up for work.
Right. Do the basics, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't pay them a decent wage, they're going to find somewhere else to work.
Right, absolutely.
Period.
And your culture is so important, and you and I work on that every day. We're trying to make our culture as best as possible,
Yeah.
and we want our people to have fun at work. We want them to enjoy their work. We want them to treat our customers like their best friend.
Yeah.
Because that's important to us. It's all important to us. And
part of that is having to mollycoddle some of them because they're younger people, and that's the generation that they grew up in. And I don't mean mollycoddle them to a great degree, but you have to treat them sometimes differently than some old tough guys been working in the industry.
No doubt
for
about it.
20 or 30
Literally,
days.
how did you grow up, Glenn? I mean, literally, it was like we were rough on each other. We were just hardcore. It was interesting. And we get mad in the middle of the day, yell at each other, and by the end of the day, we totally forgot about it. It was not a big deal. But in today's world, it's a
people would
different
call
ballgame.
someone out on something, and now you got to kind of put your arm around them and say, "Oh, You're not an idiot, you know.
Oh,
You just made a mistake that just cost me $2,000.
my dad told me I was an idiot on a regular basis.
I heard it plenty. You know, I think I told the story of my first job when I was 17 years old, 50 years ago, when I broke a bolt off in a rusty old Cadillac. I was putting a power steering pump on, broke the bolt off. Neither me or my boss or anybody in the shop could get the thing extracted, so he made me go to the junkyard and buy a head with my own money and the gasket set and fix that car. And it wasn't my fault. I didn't rust the bolt. I didn't use
It was your fault.
I didn't use an air wrench. I was just trying to ease this thing. I used all of WD-40, whatever I could throw at it. It would not
But
come
you
out.
learned something from that, didn't you?
Yeah, my boss was a jerk.
But no, you know
I won't tell you what I really want to call
Well,
him, but
and
I'll
I'm
use
going to
jerk
tell you, I'm going to tell
for
you
the
in
sake
all,
of the radio.
in all fairness to your boss, the thing of it is it taught you something. It taught you personal accountability. You broke it, you fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you ever borrowed something from somebody and you went ahead and you took it home and you used it and it broke? So then you had to fix it, right? You weren't going to
Either
give it back
fix
to
it
the
or
broker.
replace
You,
it.
you weren't going to give it back to him.
Oh, I
broken.
can't tell you how many times guys around here have borrowed something and they put it back in your box where you found it.
That's terrible.
And you go to use it the next time, and they broke something on it. But they didn't want to tell you because they're afraid you're going to make them pay for it. It's like, no, I just want to make sure that it worked the next time. It
right,
needed to
that's-
be used. Next time I need to loan it. I mean, I don't work on cars much anymore, so, I mean, my tools are available to my guys. But, man, if you break something or it quits working
Let's
for
fix
some
it,
reason,
move on.
let me
Yeah,
know, 'cause
absolutely.
the next guy's
Yep.
going to need it. And,
Yeah, you're right.
know,
Exactly.
Then we're all
nothing,
screwed.
There's
you know.
nothing worse than going into the toolbox and finding something broken that you can't use that you need right then and there. There's no doubt about that. That is the worst, and that's what I tell my guys all the time. I go, I don't care. It broke. So what? Let's just fix it and move on. That's what we need to do, you know? So,
Exactly.
hey, Glenn, so we talked a lot about the cost of auto repair and the cost to the consumer, air conditioning, and just overall general cost of auto repair. And so let's wrap this show up. And if you want to subscribe to us, you can go to, where, Glenn?
podcastunderthehood.com. And, you know, if you have any questions, you can leave those. I don't think you have to be a subscriber to leave any questions or anything. You just, go to, podcastunderthehood.com and give us let your yah-yahs out. And if you don't think you're getting a fair shake at some other shop, we can recommend someone here in the Valley, or teach you how to find a good place if you live out of state or wherever you happen to live. And help you find the right shop that's going to be a good fit for you.
Like Glenn said, you know what? If you have any questions or you want any comments or you want us to talk about something on the show, please let us know. Subscribe.
Give us some topics. We're always looking for new material.
Yeah. And we want to know what you want to hear.
Victims of circumstance.
We always want to know what you what you want to hear, because we're in the industry. You're the consumer. We want to know what you want to hear, so we can talk about it and be happy to do that. So go to podcastunderthehood.com.
We'll be talking to you on the next podcast.
See you, Glenn.
Have a good one, Dave.